All right, everyone, welcome back to the Energy to Heal podcast. My name is Laura, and this is the podcast for your resource of all things Splankna. It's the faith-based inner healing modality that helps you achieve emotional freedom. And in today's episode, we are talking to all the exhausted women out there. All the women who have given and served and carried everyone else's needs while slowly setting all of their own needs aside. I am in a bit of a mood today, and I blame TikTok for it because I listened to this amazing woman speaker who was basically like, the women of this country are struggling a bit. And she talked about how there's this thing going on, and I agree with my whole heart. In our culture, for whatever reason, I don't know what lends us to this, but women in general tend to shrink, serve, show up for everyone else except for themselves. And then a decade goes by, 2 decades goes by, and that woman is burnt out or bitter or resentful or exhausted or has no idea who she is anymore. And this seems specific to women, but maybe that's just my take since I am a woman. I have been this woman. Today, I am speaking this message as if I was able to go back 10 years and preach this message to myself. One of the best things I have ever done in my adult life is learn how to not be the person who just shrinks all the time. And I totally was, and it's not because my husband required it of me or expected it of me or even desired me to do that. I think it is partially just my personality, partially my nature, and partially the culture we live in, especially the Christian culture. That's like, you are the helpmate, you're the servant, you're supposed to submit. It's like all this language that I now know does not mean disappear. Put all your needs aside. But I used to think it did. And you guys, I can tell you, if you are in your 20s, early 30s, and you don't know this yet, the road where this leads, this serve everybody until you have nothing left, disappear, ignore your own desires and hobbies, and it doesn't take you to a great place. And it is a very difficult place to come back from. If you live 20 years in this place where you put everyone else first and you get to like the point of no return, it is extremely difficult to come back from. So my hope is that you're hearing this before you've gotten to your breaking point so that you can have somebody in the whole world tell you that you have permission to take up space and to stop apologizing for existing. So if you're listening right now and you feel empty or invisible, or you have been apologizing for taking up space. Oh, sorry. This episode is, in the best way possible, a wake-up call for you. I want to tell you a story that really wraps up the kind of person I used to be and still sometimes fight off, okay? So one time I was driving in a parking lot. And I have probably told this story on this podcast maybe a year or two ago because it changed my perspective of myself. I was driving so responsibly like a sweet little mama in a parking lot. And all of a sudden, this car came flying out of nowhere the wrong direction. So I'm following the lanes up and down like you're supposed to. This car came perpendicular to me and slammed on its brakes as it almost hit me. It was going the wrong way of traffic, speeding way too fast, and almost collided into my van. And my immediate response was to look at this 20-year-old kid, and I said, sorry. My hand went up. I immediately took this it's all my fault posture. And I apologized to him. And he looked very confused. And I was very confused. I was like, what is wrong with me? That was not my fault. Where's my righteous anger? I should have been angry at that guy for being so reckless and careless. And not only was I not angry, but I took the blame. I apologized. And I realized in that moment, something's got to give. I have to find a different version of myself. I want to know how to show up powerfully in life instead of this tiny little mouse all the time. And I really needed my husband's help with that, and I needed Christ's help with that. So I'm going to share with you my journey of what that looked like. So let's name what's really happening. So many women, especially Christian women, have been taught to make themselves small. I think we've confused humility with invisibility. And it's like we make ourselves invisible to the point where we have nothing left and we start to hate the world. We resent the world for requiring so much of us. We serve, we give, and we say yes to literally everything because we don't want to disappoint anyone. We don't want anyone to be mad at us. We don't want to feel like we're not serving God with all our might, right? So we just say yes to every ask, every favor that somebody needs. We even volunteer ourselves to do favors for people when we don't have the time or the money or the resources. And then the whole time, whether you know it or not, something inside of you is whispering, what about me? Like, when is it my turn? And for me, it wasn't ever my turn. And so I would desperately wait for other people to serve me the way that I was serving others. I would hope that somebody would see how hard I was working and they would just do the same thing for me. And sometimes that did happen. A lot of times it didn't. And then I would get resentful towards people for not repaying me with the same burnt out energy that I was serving everybody else, especially with my husband. I wouldn't ask him for things. I wouldn't tell him I needed something. I would just resent him for not knowing automatically how tired I was and how exhausted I was. I felt guilty for wanting some time alone, away from my kids, away from my husband, away from my friend. Like, when I am in those places where I've given too much and I haven't taken good care of myself, I can literally hear myself think the thought, everybody just leave me alone, over and over and over again. And that is my very obvious cue. I'm not okay and I need a break. Because the thing is, even if I go to rest and I steal away, I would feel guilty. I would feel guilty for resting, apologize for needing rest. It would ruin the rest because I would go away, take a break, and I couldn't even enjoy it because I was just feeling guilty the whole time. And friend, that is not holy. It's not humility. That is exhaustion, labeled as righteousness. Even to our own selves, we tell ourselves that this is true service to God. Jesus said in Matthew 22:39, love your neighbor as yourself, not instead of yourself. And man, we live as if it says instead of yourself. You cannot love others well if you have forgotten who you are and are drawing from an empty bucket. God created you, woman, intentionally, uniquely, and beautifully. The thing that a woman brings to the table is very intentional by God. It's not by accident. I want to tell you, especially if you didn't grow up in a house that like a healthy, whole, healed woman was exemplified for you, I want to tell you what a woman energy, a woman's presence brings to the world, to a house, to her room, to her friendships, when she's living from this God-given design. And one of the reasons I want to do that is because in my pendulum swing, I'm trying to learn how to show up powerfully. So I stop shrinking. And then I pendulum swung to this other side where I tried to show up really intensely and almost like the unhealthy version of masculine, if that makes sense. And what I'm learning is that there's something different in God's design of a woman, and it is desperately needed in this world. And so when we have a whole culture of women who aren't operating in this, the world is missing out. Our families are missing out, and we're missing out because even we benefit from the design of a woman. Women were designed with a natural capacity for connection. Our brains are wired for it even more than a man's brain is. Men often bring focus and direction, task completion. A healed woman brings attunement. She can feel the emotional temperature of a room and instinctively know how to bring warmth and comfort and inclusion, make everybody feel included in that room. In Genesis 2, the Bible says that woman was created as an ezer kenegdo. And we often hear that, I often heard that growing up, as a helpmate. And in my brain, without even knowing it, I heard helpmate as an assistant to the regional manager, assistant to anyone. I am the assistant, which in my mind made me feel like my role was to be second place. But when you look up that word, or you look at what it means, this is my favorite definition of it. Ezer kenegdo, a strength facing strength. She's not an assistant. She's a balancing force to her husband. We balance out the men of this world, and we desperately need that. We don't need to act like men. We don't need to hide from our role as a strong, powerful woman. We need to show up as a strong, powerful woman so that we can balance out the world. We bring compassion and intuition that keeps relationships healthy and human. A healed woman sees people. She slows down the pace of life, of performance, and reminds everyone around her what really matters, which is relationships, being there for each other, giving empathy for each other when life gets hard. A healed woman in a room creates this environment that feels safe and life-giving to the people around her. Just that presence of a woman showing up in a room, healed and whole, not striving, not burnt out and exhausted, her existence in that room has the power to settle chaos. Like a steady strength in the room where everybody's internal nervous system just goes, We represent this nurturing side of God. Like when you sit in God's presence, and even if nothing is being spoken, your soul and spirit just sitting in his presence, that I believe is the strength of a woman. It's our calm authority that shifts the atmosphere, not our demanding, loud presence. I believe that when God created a woman, he created a person where people breathe easier when she's around. Children thrive. Men rise taller. Like men benefit from us bringing that kind of energy into a room and into a relationship. This might be one of my favorite things. A healed woman is like, you know how women are meant to birth children? Well, children are not the only thing women are created to birth or able to birth. We are like people who birth destiny into people and into situations. Women, because of our connectivity, because of our ability to sense the temperature of a room and see how people are doing and respond to them, we can also call things out in them, like prophesying or speaking life into the people around us. It's not just encouraging people on a surface level churchy way, like, oh, you're so amazing, I love being right. No, it's like we can see below the surface. We can see what somebody is struggling with, gifted at. That attunement I was talking about is the ability to feel what others are feeling, anticipate what a situation might act like, feel like for somebody else, and then we can join them in that and call something out in them. There's this thing that I say all the time that I've read, who knows, somewhere that's stuck in my brain, but it's like the voice that we speak to our kids with will become their inner voice when they become adults. When you are speaking life into your kids, you are so kind. Wow, we're so lucky to have you in this house. You tried really hard at that activity and you kept trying until you got it. I'm so proud of you. That becomes your kid's inner voice when they grow up. The very words that you speak as a mother, as a friend, as a coworker, has the ability to literally grow inside of somebody's mind and help shape who they're going to become. It's like women are able to say, like, I see who you really are. Like with my kids, I've got 5 kids. So this is kind of my filter and perspective of everything. But it's like, even when your toddler is melting down, embarrassing you in public, like you can see beyond their tantrum, see who they really are and call them higher. Going back to that word, ezer kenegdo, it's a Hebrew word. It means helper, like I said, not in a weak way, in a strength-facing strength way. And it's the same word used to describe God himself as our helper in times of trouble. An ezer is a warrior, a rescuer, a strength alongside strength. Women, we are not created to stand behind or underneath. We're created to stand beside, in power, with purpose, reflecting the heart of God. So when you shrink and you hide and you silence yourself, your needs, your desires, your opinion, the world misses a piece of the reflection of God. I sit with so many women who have shrunk for so many years of their life, literal decade after decade after decade, in their marriages, in their friendships, in their purposes, in their hobbies, that they're 60 years old, they're 70 years old, they don't even know who they are anymore. They ignored themselves, pushed themselves down for so long that they lived the majority of their life having never met themselves. And you guys, that is not okay with me. It's not okay with the heart of God. Every desire we have, everything we're good at, gifted in, we are supposed to get to know ourselves, get to know it so that we can exist in that capacity, serve the world with it, come to life in those giftings. I want you to hear me say so loud and clear that you have permission to get to know yourself, but you have to give yourself space in order to do that. You have to have time and places where you literally just get to think your own thoughts, where you get to compliment yourself on things that you're good at, where you get to thank the Lord for gifting you with the things that just come natural to you. You need to practice taking up space. And that means you need to practice being okay with inconveniencing people sometimes. That is the hardest one for me. I still hate inconveniencing people. If I need this and it doesn't match with your schedule, I just want to pretend like I don't need it. If it's going to take 10 extra minutes, I'll just be like, it's fine. If my opinion is different than yours, I will not want to share it because how inconvenient for me to have a different opinion than you. That one is still a hard one for me. But I realized that I have spent my whole life accommodating everyone else's inconveniences for me. And it's okay to have those same quote unquote inconveniences for other people. It's part of being a human. It's like in my mind, everyone mattered except for me. And I didn't realize I thought or felt that way. So I want to say that in a very specific English sentence for you, because you might be living that way and you've never sat and consciously thought about the fact that you're living that way. Do you live as if everyone else matters except for you? Because if everyone matters, you are a person who matters. You are one of those people. There's no way in the world that it makes sense for everyone on this planet to matter except for you. When we rise up, when we take care of ourselves, when we hide away and get with the Lord and refill our buckets, that rising up blesses you, it blesses your family, it blesses the entire world. And we are desperate for women who know how to rise up and be powerful people who take up space. But how do we rise up without becoming harsh or prideful, kind of like that like unhealthy masculine energy that I was talking about before. Because that's the tension, isn't it? We don't want to bulldoze others, but we also don't want to disappear. So what's in the middle? True strength is born from surrender, not striving. If you've been with us the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about surrender a lot. I am convinced that everything comes from this posture of surrender. When Christ is your center, not you, you're not the one being the center of everything. You are making Christ the center of everything. Then you can be both soft and strong at the same time. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can say no to people without guilt because your worth doesn't depend on everyone else's approval all of a sudden. Your worth, when you're centered on Christ, is found in Christ. So you can say no. People can be mad at you. They can be disappointed in you for not always being there for them when they need you to run an errand for them or do this or that for them. And it won't shake your worth because you're not centering your worth on people's approval anymore. You can take up space with peace in your heart, not pride. Some of the reason we don't want to take up space is because it feels prideful. And so many of us women are so desperately not wanting to be putting ourselves first, looking prideful. But you can take up space, put yourself first sometimes, just with peace, just with this knowing that you were created to take up space once in a while and to retreat and to need rest. It's going to feel like pride to you if you're not used to this. It's not pride. I want you to remember Jesus. He was the ultimate example of strength under control, under submission even. He submitted to God. He flipped tables when necessary. But he also wept with compassion when necessary. He spoke truth very boldly. So if we're becoming more like Christ, we're trying to be more like Christ, then we are learning to speak truth boldly. But you can speak truth from love. You don't have to say it in a mean way. If you grew up in a house where truth was spoken, but it hurt people's feelings and it broke people's relationships apart often, you are probably terrified to speak the truth. You will always shrink back because you don't want to break relationship. You don't want to be that mad, angry person that you saw growing up. So you just smile and keep the truth quiet. I remember in my early 30s, I'm 39 now, so almost a decade ago, I remember the literal day when I learned that you can be angry and kind at the same time. In my mind, I just thought if you're angry, that means you're mean, you're a jerk. And so I just refused to be angry. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I can be upset, hurt, frustrated, angry, and tell that person that I'm those things with love at the same time. It's the same thing with truth. You can speak your truth boldly without apologizing and do it from love. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God's not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. What I want to point out about that verse, because I know you've heard it 100 times, is power and love mixed together and wisdom. But it's like, I think in the back of my mind, all those years ago, I thought God has given me a spirit of love, end of the verse. And love means gentleness. And gentleness means never stirring the pot, which means I don't have any opinions or needs. I'll just make everything lovely. But he says he gives us a spirit of power. There's your permission right there. If you need a Bible verse, there's your permission right there to be a woman of power. Powerful words, powerful actions, powerful emotion, powerful love, mixed with powerful wisdom. So when you're tempted to shrink, remember you're walking in the spirit of the living God. He is inside of you, and he is a God of power and love and sound mind. I want to speak directly to your heart for a second as we wrap this up, okay? You matter too. Your needs are not less important than your husband's or your kids or your ministry or your coworkers. When Jesus walked this earth, he often hid away from the crowds just to rest and pray. He wasn't accomplishing all the time 24/7. He didn't go into task mode from 6 a.m. till 11 p.m. He would just go away, hide, and rest. Even the Son of God set boundaries. And if even the Son of God needed to rest, then how in the world do we expect that we don't? Like, Jesus, the actual Son of God, needed rest and time away and to stop serving everybody else. But I'm good. I'm just going to keep plowing through. I'll be fine. Mark 1 says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, he left the house, and he went off to a solitary place. If he needed time alone with the Father, then so do you. You're not selfish for needing rest. You're not weak for asking for help. You're not demanding for expecting others to be inconvenienced by you sometimes. When we live life with other humans, the humans are going to inconvenience each other. When we're living in love with our friends, with our community, with our spouses, with our kids, both people, both parties in that relationship should sometimes be inconvenienced by the other. It's a red flag when one person is always inconvenienced by the other person and the other person is just living their best life, never inconvenienced. In your marriage, if you are a married woman, in an ideal world, both of you are serving the other person. Both of you are inconvenienced by the other person once in a while. Both of you are laying your life down for the other person's benefit. It is weird when you think about it, for just one person to always be benefiting from a relationship and the other person to always be sacrificing. We got to have some balance there. It is kind of tricky because in marriage, you always hear wives are supposed to submit to their husbands, right? So how do we show up strong while also submitting to our husbands as the head of the family? Ephesians 5:22, you've heard this 100 times. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. But notice what comes right before that. Verse 21 says, submit to one another. One another. That means back and forth. You're both doing it. You're both submitting out of reverence for Christ. Biblical submission is not about silencing your voice or ignoring your needs for the benefit of every single person around you. It's about mutual honor and respectful leadership. So when your husband leads in love and you respond with honor, that's unity. It's not hierarchy. And then when you, as the wife, lead with strength, discernment, and wisdom, that's not rebellion. That's righteousness. The wisdom that you carry is different than the wisdom that your husband carries. Women connect to a different part of life than men do. That wisdom that you carry is needed and necessary in order for both of you to model Christ. Men reflect a certain part of Christ, women reflect a certain part of Christ, and together both of them are needed to represent him. If you've forgotten who you are, if you don't even know what you like anymore, what your own hobbies are, this is your gentle invitation to go on a journey to rediscover yourself. Spend some time with the Lord and ask him to remind you of the woman that he created you to be before the world told you who you should be. Who were you before you were a wife? Who were you before you were a mother? Who were you before you looked to everyone else around you for the answer to the question, what should I be doing right now? Another thing you could do, and if you're writing this down, I'd love you to spend some time with the Lord and literally ask him these questions and literally write down the answers. What makes you come alive? I know you know the feeling when you do something and this life comes into you and you're like, this is the best thing ever. I could do this all day and never get tired. I cannot wait to do this again. Those things, they're called hobbies. If you have been in this season for a long time, you might have forgotten this concept. When I had 3 kids in diapers, it was a solid 9 years where I never did anything as a hobby. And I went on a mission to try to find one hobby that I had. And it turned out I started watercolor painting and loving that. But before that, I had zero concept of what made me feel alive, what made me feel talented, what made me feel like literally good at anything besides unloading the dishwasher. What hobbies or passions used to bring you joy? Go back, way back if you need to. Remember a time in life where things felt easy, where you had leisure time, where you got to choose how you spent your hours. What did you do? Did you go outside? Did you get around people? Did you go by yourself? Was it discovering something new? Was it trying new food? Was it learning a new concept? Do you just love learning? If you had an entire afternoon to yourself and you were not allowed to do jobs and tasks and accomplish things off your task list, what would you do with an entire afternoon to yourself? If you don't know the answer to that, my friend, please, I want you to meet yourself. I don't want you to go your whole life having no idea who you are, what you like, what you desire, or what you're good at. And then the other question I had is, what dreams have you buried under duty and guilt? You buried them because it's selfish for a mom to spend her time doing that when there's so much to do around the house. Or you buried them because your to-do list is just way too long. You buried them because your kids cry when you leave the house, or your husband makes you feel guilty whenever you want to go out and do something for yourself. And so you just exhale and okay, fine, I'll just stay home. Do you remember what dreams you had before that task list got too long, or before you had so many people depending on you? What I'm going to say next is very important, because I know that pendulum swing that I talked about. Like sometimes you hear a message like this and you're like panicking, like, oh my gosh, I have no idea who I am. What am I going to do? You don't have to blow up your life to find yourself again. I have been an adult long enough to see a lot of my friends' lives and marriages get blown up. I have watched this curbside, and it is a horrific and painful thing to watch. The marriage blows up. The family blows up. The emotions that have been stuffed for so many years blow up everywhere. And there's this middle-aged woman who is desperate to find out who she is, and she never had time or space for it in her married life. And so the solution that I've seen over and over again is, I have to leave my husband. I have to blow everything up because I can't keep living like this. It's oftentimes referred to as the point of no return. That is very specifically referred to when it's talking about women who get to this point in their life. I want to let you know, you don't have to blow up your life to find yourself again. You just have to start giving yourself as much space in the world as you give everybody else. And sometimes that's hard because the people in your life are not used to you saying no to them. The people in your life are not used to you retreating and taking rest and taking time off to fill yourself up. They have become just as accustomed to you serving until you are empty and resentful and exhausted, just as much as you've gotten used to that. Maybe give them a heads up. Hey, I am not doing okay. I am exhausted. I have nothing left to give, and I need to learn how to fill up my bucket so that I can play the long game, so that I can thrive and not just get by every day. I need to find my peace again. I need to connect with Jesus again. And that's going to change how things look around here for a little while. And I would really like your help in letting me prioritize myself once in a while, because it feels really awful to me. It feels uncomfortable. It feels unfamiliar. Giving yourself permission and asking for permission from the people around you to make a shift in how life operates. Entering a season where you just start saying yes to what brings you life and no to what drains it. If you have an opportunity in front of you and you are about to say yes to it, I just want you to ask yourself, am I saying yes because I feel obligated to this, or because I'm actually going to enjoy this, or I actually feel the Lord calling me to this? Part of following Christ is when you get an opportunity in front of you, ask Him. Ask the Lord, should I say yes to this? Don't just assume that He's going to tell you to say yes to everything. That's that spirit of religion. That's that spirit of I have to serve, even if I have nothing to serve from. Ask Him. Sometimes He might say, no, I want you to put your cozy sweatpants on and watch a movie with your best friend. God is not a taskmaster or a slave driver who's going to drive you into the ground and then condemn you for not having anything left. This last part is for the women who might be on the other side of this. You have gone into that kind of bulldozing energy. You have learned that strength and overpowering people and intensity gets the job done. And so you fiercely bulldoze others as a way to try to protect yourself. You probably learned that in childhood or your teen years. And honestly, it works really, really well. But it can also isolate you. It can push people away and keep you really lonely. Strength without gentleness isn't strength. It's self-protection. And God is inviting you to something different. He's inviting you to still lead, but to partner that leading with love. Okay. 1 Corinthians 13 says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Basically, an annoying noise in the background that everybody wishes would stop talking. Your voice is powerful, but it is most powerful, women, when it is rooted in love. It's both. I'm not asking you to turn down the powerful. I'm asking you to just partner it with love, understanding of someone else's point of view, someone else's perspective, someone else's pain. God doesn't want you to shrink. He doesn't want you to disappear, but He also doesn't want you to steamroll. He wants you to stand tall, grounded, powerful, and gentle. So here's the call, sister. In closing, here's your permission to rise up, to take up space, to stop apologizing for existing. The world needs your voice, and your family needs the strength that you have. The kingdom of God needs your courage. You are not too much. You're not too late. You are not forgotten. The enemy of your soul would have you think all of those things. The enemy of your soul wants you to shrink back, thinking your emotions are too much, it's too late for you, you're too far gone, and nobody cares anyway. So just give it up. But it's all a lie. He is the king of lies. You are a daughter of the Most High King who created literally everything. And He, who is in charge of everything that we don't even know exists, delights when you walk in the fullness of who He made you to be. Everything you're gifted at, good at, passionate about, find life in, He put that in you. He's the one that invented that in your heart. So go out this week and take one small step towards showing up. Say no when you need to. Rest without guilt. Speak your truth and partner it with love. And most of all, just stay close to Jesus. He is the one that teaches us how to do this. It's not out of our own strength. It's not even out of our own understanding. Everything that I've said in this podcast today is a cognitive assent to what this means. But there is going to have to be something that shifts in your heart. A light switch that is going to have to go on, and probably multiple times. This isn't a lesson you learn one and done. I'm 9 years into this lesson. Stay close to Jesus because He's the only one that can teach what this actually means. I love you. Thank you for being here. I was just logging in to my Libsyn account, which is where I post my podcasts. You guys, in 2 years, this podcast has gotten 65,000 all-time downloads. I don't even know how to comprehend that. But if you've been here in the long haul, you've been here for a while, thank you for being here. I am so grateful that there is a group and a community of people out there that care about healing and showing up powerfully and letting go of the stuff in the past that is heavy and awful and junky, and the enemy wants to keep us all twisted up in it. And we're like, no, thank you. I don't want to stay twisted up in literally anything from my past. It's not biblical. We follow a God who's ready to set us free. I'm so glad there are 65,000 people out there who are resonating with that message. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week.